Welcome to the New York Baseball Podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Randy Dobnak. He pitches for the Minnesota Twins at the major league level in the bullpen, and he also starts some games as well. Welcome, Randy. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. Thanks so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so Randy, just to get started, just a quick check-in. So obviously, baseball was supposed to start around 4 months ago, but obviously we have dealing with this pandemic. So I just want to know, how have you and your family been doing with COVID, and how did you spend the last 4 months? Obviously, you weren't playing baseball.
Yeah, so I was back home in West Virginia. Me and my wife, we live with her parents, so we kind of were just hanging out at the house, doing daily stuff, I guess, around the house. We have a lot of acres, so her dad started a garden, so we kind of helped him with that. Various things of yard work around the house, inside, outside. And I was lucky enough to actually have access to a baseball field, so I can go over there and throw and do all those things I needed to do. And as far as, working out goes, I was just doing like body weight stuff for about a month or two until I started throwing with another kid, a local kid who actually has he had like a little home gym. So I started using that about 2 months in, but it was definitely interesting times.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear that you found a way to stay in shape and obviously keep up with baseball when there wasn't really much of it. I know Noah and I were craving it, so thank God we have it now. So obviously there's been a scram to get ready for the season because 60 games, not a lot of time to prepare. And obviously pitchers sometimes need longer times to prepare for the season, I guess is the general consensus. So we wanted to ask you, do you feel prepared for the season?
Do I feel prepared?
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely do. Coming out of spring training, I was already ramped up to 65 pitches or so. Mm-hmm. And when we got sent home, our plan was kind of just to stay at that level. Mm-hmm. So every week I was throwing, I'd throw a bullpen, say today, and then 2 days from now I'd throw like a little live session. So it would be three sets of 20 pitches or so, around 60, 65 pitches. And I did that literally every week. The whole 4 months that I was home, I was doing that every week. In the last month, I was going 4 sets of 20 plus, getting to 85 pitches or so. So I wanted to come into, I guess, summer camp. I want to come in over prepared rather than under prepared. So my first outing in summer camp was 55 pitches, and I was like, well, I'm already ramped up to 95, so.
Nice. That's awesome. And I know we've seen some live hitting in these exhibition games, and some of the hitters seem off. Do you think the pitchers will be at an advantage, especially in the beginning of the season, just because the hitters are still working on their timing with this weird kind of summer camp, spring training 2.0 situation?
I think maybe a little bit, some guys, but all the hitters, they have their own little ways of preparing for the season, and they do a really good job at that. Obviously, I know our guys, we hit at least 10 plus home runs just in the that we did spring training games or summer camp games. So, those guys, they can hit and they know how to, adjust to the whole timing situation thing. And going forward, I think maybe a little bit for maybe the first, 2 weeks or so, maybe the pitchers have the advantage, but I don't think it'll be anything, crazy or, you won't really notice much. Some guys, probably some guys more than others, but the guys that have been around for a while, they know what to do. They know what's coming. They know all that stuff. So
I was going to say, especially with the lineup like the Twins, the Bomba squad, all those power hitters and everything, those are stacked. So and if any hitters are prepared, I'm going to assume it's the Minnesota Twins lineup. But
yeah, Nelly took me deep about a week ago. It was about 150 off the bat. So
150, wow.
Is it weird pitching against your teammates, especially the Twins who have the home run record, right? So is it weird pitching against your own team in those games?
Yeah, it's definitely different, but it's kind of nice, because we can talk to the guys after in between innings or whatever. I would sit down, talk to Josh Donaldson or Garv or Kepler, all those guys, Avila. And they can give me some feedback on what they see come out of my hand and what they think I can do differently and stuff like that. But it's definitely, it's awesome just to get out there and compete against your own team. Kind of have a little bit of bragging rights, but it's all fun.
100%.
A lot of shit talking.
And that's not something you normally would do, right? Is that just would you normally do that, or is it obviously more so this season?
Do what?
Would you do these sort of games, exhibition games against your own teammates, or is that much more so this season?
Normally we do it a few times before spring. I know. Well, I guess this past spring training is my first, big league camp. But we get there whenever in the first week, maybe week and a half. Guys will go through and throw live BP to our team, and then we start playing games, obviously. But yeah, it's definitely a lot different. It's basically like a full-on game. We got our guys behind us and we pitch against our guys. So whenever we do live BP, it's normally just like me, the catcher, and the hitter. Yeah. And they aren't, there's no fielders, nobody's running the bases. It's kind of just basic. So it's definitely different. I think it's pretty unique and it's kind of cool. And I think maybe if we do it more in the future, it might help out. Like I said before, we get the feedback and stuff.
Right. And and you mentioned Josh Donaldson facing him and stuff. I know that was that was a new signing that the Twins had this offseason. What has the presence of him been like, and how is it like? What is he like? I'm gonna ask that question. Like, what is Josh Donaldson like?
He's a fun dude. He's a funny guy, but he can be serious when he needs to be serious. And he's a gamer, man. He loves play, and he brings the fire to the field, and he definitely brings everybody out in the clubhouse, and it's just really fun to have him around, and it's definitely fun to get the pinch against him. He referenced me as the no, I'm not gonna say it. Never mind.
You can let it loose. I mean, it's up to you. But
no, he told me not to.
Gotcha. All right, gotcha.
He's a fun guy, and it's definitely fun to be around. It's kind of weird, for me growing up. I'm like watching this guy. I'm watching a lot of these guys on TV. It's like, oh well, now they're my teammates. Like, what happened?
Yeah. So, Randy, speaking of obviously growing up, we have a lot of young viewers on. I know, last August you made your major league debut. Do you want to kind of just talk about like how that worked, obviously from like being drafted into college, and then what it was like playing last August for the Minnesota Twins?
Yeah, so I had one offer out of high school. That was the Alderson Broadus University. Probably never heard of it. It's in the middle of nowhere, West Virginia, Division II. I played there for 4 years. I actually did not get drafted. I had talked to some scouts and stuff, but nobody ended up picking me up. And I went to go play indie ball up in Michigan, the USPBL. It's kind of like a newer league. There's like 4 teams, 1 stadium. And the other reason I got on that team was because the coach I played with his son my first 2 years of college. So after the draft, he called me up and said, hey, I got a spot for you. So if you want to come play, I was like, all right, I'll be there tomorrow. I went up there for about 5 weeks or so, and I threw pretty well. I mean, I thought I was having the time of my life up there. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. Then the Twins came calling, and next thing I know, I'm down in rookie ball in 2017. Finished that year in low A up in Cedar Rapids for playoffs. And 2018 came around. I was in low A again the whole entire year. So I kind of figured that's how that stuff kind of work. You work your way up slowly. And then 2019 came around. I was just trying to break camp with the team. I ended up starting out in high A, and after a month, I went to double A. And then after another month, I went to triple A for a little bit. Went back down to double A, came back up to triple A, and then I guess in August I got called up to the big leagues, and that was easily the craziest year of my life. And then obviously I got called back up September. I actually missed the last series of the season to go get married. So, and then obviously the playoff game, it was just nuts. And nothing, the way it worked is something that, nobody would ever think of how that's how it worked, and it was just nuts.
Speaking of the playoff game, and I know, Randy, you've had a lot of career accolades. Just everything you described, but a lot of our listeners, when they think of your name, they probably think of the playoff game versus the Yankees. So I just wanted to ask you about that. What was that like?
And
what?
The Uber driver.
The famous story.
Oh, yeah. Well, that and just like overall, just like pitching in a playoff game. So if you're comfortable talking about like what it was like getting that yelled at you by Yankee fans, of course, you can talk about that. But we won't make you. But we just wanted to know about what was it like pitching in a playoff game against the New York Yankees? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they call Yankee Stadium the jungle for a reason. The fans are nuts. They're awesome. None of that stuff really bothers me. I think somebody has me on record saying the louder it is, the more I like it, and that's kind of true. I love that kind of atmosphere. It kind of fuels the players, at least for myself. But yeah, the fans they're pretty wild and pretty ruthless, but it's all in fun. I think it's all in good fun. They're trying to like kind of rattle me and get in my head, and like I just talk back to them like, good luck. It's not like, I just look at them and laugh because it's like you're up there, I'm over here. It's kind of different, but yeah, that game it didn't go the way I wanted to, obviously, but it was just craziest time ever in my life, because you think about playoff baseball growing up, and you think about Yankee Stadium being like the pinnacle of playoff baseball. So for me to get my first, I guess, playoff experience as a starter in the postseason at Yankee Stadium, it's I guess it can only go down from there.
Met fans will always be on your side. I know you can't always count on Yankee fans, but Mets fans are where it's at.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun, man.
I mean, it just sounds like a crazy, 3 months. I mean, you make your major league debut, then you're getting married, and then you're pitching in game 2 of the ALDS against the Yankees.
I also pitched the game that we were in Detroit. I pitched that game that we ended up clinching the division too. So, and that I pitched that game. We clinched. The next day we had a game, and then that night I flew home to go get married, came back, and we flew out to New York to play the postseason game.
That's a crazy.
Did you even focus at your wedding, just given all that was happening with your baseball career?
My wife came in with a jersey she had made with my name on it. Like when we came into the barn, after we do all that stuff, like the first dance, or whatever. And then I came in with a beer can, and I had my goggles on that I had in the champagne celebration. I had those on. Couldn't see a thing. But yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, for sure. So Randy, I think we're gonna finish talking about the upcoming 2020 season. Obviously, I know it's gonna be a lot different. So what are your opinions on the 2020 season? First off, how do you think it's gonna be playing with no fans? I mean, you mentioned even at Yankee Stadium, you're kind of in your own zone. So you think it's gonna make a big difference playing with 0 fans, maybe cardboard cutouts? I don't even know.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be pretty – obviously it's going to be really unique and different, but it's definitely going to be kind of weird playing with nobody in the stands. It's going to be really quiet. If I say one word, it's going to echo throughout the whole stadium. So, but yeah, it's definitely going to be different. A lot of guys probably, like I said before, the players kind of fuel off the energy that the fans are bringing. It's everything we do, we kind of just do it to entertain them, It's in the grand scheme of things, we're kind of just trying to – we're out there doing what we can, and if they like it, they like it, whatever. But up in indie ball, we actually had a game every week on Tuesday or Wednesday with no fans, and that stadium held 5,000 people, so that was kind of weird. And then to think about playing in a big league stadium that has 40,000 plus seats with nobody in it, that's just going to be definitely interesting. But we've been doing the inter squad games, with no fans, and it's a little different, but you kind of, just like anything else in baseball, you kind of just have to adjust to it. So whether you're a pitcher, you're a hitter, you got to make adjustments, and it is what it is, and it's going to be fun.
Right. And another thing with the 2020 season being different, what is your opinion on the rule changes? Specifically, because I know this affects pitchers a lot, the runner on second base in extra innings. What is your opinion on those rules?
Yes, 2018 I was in the minor leagues, and I guess 2019 as well. They had that rule in there already. Mm-hmm. And overall, it's I don't really like it much. I don't think anybody likes it that plays the game. It doesn't really speed up games anyway, because top of the 10th, guy on second, they're gonna bunt him over, and then sac fly's gonna score him. Yeah. Under the bottom of the 10th, they're gonna bunt him over. Sac fly's gonna tie the game. More often than not, the game still ended up going, 12, 13 plus innings. But it's definitely, I don't know. It's weird that they're trying to experiment like that, but I don't think, and everybody that I've talked to, not a fan of it. I don't really know anybody that is a fan of it. It's not going to, they might speed up games a little bit, but in the grand scheme of things, it's going to maybe speed the games up by a second. I don't know.
And another thing with with the empty stadium, and if you mentioned you say one word will echo throughout. I was just thinking some players gotta be particularly careful with that, and I was thinking of a couple players in particular. There are some vocal pitchers out there. I don't know if there's anybody on the Twins who just ramps himself up, talks himself. But I know Max Scherzer's got to keep in touch with that. Clayton Kershaw, Madison Bumgarner, those players are gonna have to make sure, because if they say one thing really loud and it echoes out, a bunch of cameras gonna hear it.
Yeah, I think everybody kind of does that. If I make a bad pitch and I know it's a bad pitch, I get mad at myself when I say some words, but most time it gets echoed out by all the crowd noise. But now it's gonna be I said it once, this guy echoed 10 times throughout the stadium. So I don't know what they're gonna do about all that. But even during normal games like last year, guys will say stuff and you can still sometimes hear through the broadcast or whatnot. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just part of the game, I guess.
And so to end on this interview, which has been amazing, thank you so much. We wanted to ask you if you want to talk a little bit about what you've done with St. Jude and your wife during the COVID-19 pandemic. If you want to talk to our audience about what you've done and how that made an impact and everything.
Yeah, so my wife has always been, her dream was to work at St. Jude as a nurse, growing up. And ever since I knew her, I was trying to get just a chance for her to visit down there. And it's so hard to get through to them. But when I got called up, they started talking about, our wedding registry on the broadcast during a game. And after the game, we talked and we're like, we don't need people buying all this random stuff for us, So I told some of the reporters that, we're working on having a way for people to donate money to St. Jude rather than giving us all this mops and brooms and stuff that we don't really need, And from there, it kind of just took off. We went and visited St. Jude. We've done a lot of fundraising for them. I actually just came out, me and the team from me and a business from up in Michigan just came out with a T-shirt with my face on it, and we're selling those right now through August 3rd. And 100% of the proceeds are going to St. Jude. So that's pretty cool. I mean, it's just really nice to be able to give back finally, after all these years, and just give back through my platform, having my wife alongside me for all that stuff is really awesome. And any way we can help out, we try and help out.
It's very nice. So Randy, it's been a pleasure having you on. I know Ari and I were looking forward to this interview for a long time. We're really happy you came on. And of course, we wish you the best of luck. I know you start Friday. I mean, I'm a Yankee fan, Ari's a Mets fan, but we will root for you until the playoffs. I will say that. But good luck this season, and thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank
you.
Go
Twins.
Thank you, Randy.
Guys.